It's Monday, March 13th, 2023. So again, just working in the wood shop today. And I just thought I'd show you kind of today what I'm working on. I'm working on parts for these mini frames. We've got to make a total of about 500 of these. A total of 500 of these. If it's a total, it can't be about, right? But we're going to make 500 of these at least. It's always nice to make a few spares. But today, what I'm making is I'm making top bars. It's a pretty simple top bar. It's 7/8 wide and 1/2 inch deep, and then it has a kerf run in there for the foundation. The bottom bar, I also have to make bottom bars. They're identical. They're just not as long. So they just have, whereas this top bar has a dado for the end bar to fit into, this just has a rabbet, because of course, you know, the rabbet has two sides and a dado has 3 sides. So that's what I'm making. And my challenge with these is that these are made with 7/8 material. And you may have heard me speak about Canadian boxes. Canadian bee boxes are made with 7/8 thick material. Well, that's the material I use for these. And it's not a common material around here. I can get it from my box builder guy, you know, but he's a 2-hour drive away. And I didn't have very much here, so I used up what I had, and that's why this is kind of gray. This isn't recycled lumber. It was just sitting out for a while. That's not too bad, but this is not what I go for, but that's what I had. And then that's kind of fast and easy to make, because it's like a 1x10 kind of thing, and I can cut it to length, and then I can run the rabbet in the long length of it over the saw, and then I can slice it up into I think it was making 15 top bars per width. So I made a bunch of those. I only had one 8-foot piece of that material, so I used it up, made the top bars. I will be going there to get more, but I'm trying to reduce the number of times I go there because the price of fuel and everything. So I'd like to only go there one more time, or at least one time this spring. So here, what I've got is I've got a whack of offcuts here, and there's 100 in this pile. There's 100 sitting there too, and so they're wider. So I cut this down yesterday. I just ripped that on the table saw. So now it's 1/2 inch thick, and it's 7/8 wide. Well, 7/8 wide and 1/2 inch thick. That's a top bar or bottom bar. So now on the radial arm saw, I need to cut this little tab off of there, and then cut it to length. And I can just get 2 top bars out of this if I do it right. So that's great, because I think I need about 200 more. Actually, I think I need 250 more. So we'll see what we get out of this. So then after those are cut to length, then they can come back here to the table saw and run the kerf. And then I'll end up with a piece like this. So just have a regular, and these are 9 inches long, 7/8 wide, 1/2 inch thick, and then a kerf. And that kerf is rather deep. We've determined that it has to be a little bit more than halfway through there, but that works okay. And running those kerfs is like super easy, because just lower the blade right down and get it centered and zoom through there. It's getting the depth dialed in is what you need to do. And just a note, I'm looking here on the screen. It looks like I have a dirty face here, but it's just the coloring of my my mustache there. So forgive me. And so that's what I'm doing here this morning. I'll step you through this, the part I'm doing here right now, and this is the woodworking videos you've been wanting. There's not that much to see, but it is what it is. And this is the corresponding bottom bar. They are 7 1/4 or something like that long, and then again just a rabbet on the end. So over and 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 over hundreds of times. That's what we need to do. So let's see, I've got my notes here. 248 top bars. So I won't get 200 because there are some knots here and there out here. So what I might do is I might open this other pack and run maybe 50 more through the saw, run them down to 1/2 inch. Then I can go to the radial arm saw, cut them to length, come back here and run the kerf. So before I do that, I'll show you a little gadget that I got. This has nothing to do with bees or woodworking. My wife has a Dyson vacuum. She really likes it, but the battery, you know, batteries, they just get so they're no good. And after a few years, that's what happened. I ordered a new battery from the company, and that was 13 months ago. I ordered this battery, and they have not shipped the battery. And they say on their website, you can't cancel orders with Dyson. It's a very expensive battery, and it's pretty proprietary. However, proprietary is the word. However, I was exclaiming my lament to a buddy the other day, and he said, oh, he's a he's a big Milwaukee cordless tool fan like I am. And he said, oh, tell you what, you go on Amazon and you buy an adapter. This is an adapter that goes in my Dyson vacuum and accepts my Milwaukee battery. I mean, how perfect is that? I have 20 bucks or something for this adapter. You know, made in China, of course, but hopefully that fits in the vacuum when I go in and stick that in there. There's just one screw at the top there. So yeah, Bob's your uncle. So I'll be trying that out later on to see if we get that vacuum up and running again. I have to take this stack of lumber over to the radial arm saw. It's a little trick I use sometimes. A little serving tray kind of a trick. And sometimes it doesn't go so well, but often it will. Just slide that under there. Get that material right on there. And now I can take that away without everything falling on the floor. Now this big bundle, I don't need all of these. There's 100 here. And what these are is they're just kind of box ends. They're just a piece that the box builder cut off of the plank. I guess it's still a board if it's 7/8. When they're building a box or something, I don't know, something they build, they've got a leftover. So what I need to do is just I want to trim these now, because once I cut them into small piece, often it's hard to tell which is the 7/8 direction, because they're cut to 7/8 to 1 inch. That's kind of hard to see. So with this, I can see that little tab. So I know that's the 7/8 direction. I'll run that against a fence. And I can trim that, and I know I've got it the right way. So I've already got my feather board set up here. I'll go a little bit thick. Got my saw set to 1/2 inch. The blade height is correct. I make quite a bit of offcut here, but it's not a piece I can use. So it goes in the garbage. I've got a neighbor comes and picks that up and puts it in his wood stove. So we'll get in production here. It's nice that my small honey boxes for my 500-gram jars fit these top and bottom bars just perfectly for storage and just handling around the shop. You know, you have 500 top bars and 500 bottom bars, and you can't just hold them in your hand. You can't just put them in a little pile. They're very unwieldy. So you see me wrapping things with plastic a lot and doing this kind of thing. So what I need to do here is I've got my fence set. Actually, my fence is set for a bottom bar. So I need to move it. Stuff like this will likely be culled. However, I run it through for simplicity. I always just build in a margin of extra pieces, and then as we assemble, we always pick the best. You know, if you've got this piece and this piece, then you're gonna choose this one. Set this one aside. It's just that it's always nice to have that kind of less than perfect piece. If you come down to it, you need one more. That's how we deal with it. So the reason really is so I don't have to be too discriminating here with this process. I can just run things through. Of course, I do cull the worst, but I don't have to be too rigid with that idea quite at this point. Just offcut this third, time consuming. Running new lumber is fast. You pay more for the lumber, but you save in the labor. In this situation, new lumber is not an option. I don't have it available I don't have it at hand. I need to go get it. So I want to get this customer on the road here, so we'll do the extra labor and use the offcuts. It's really nice to use offcuts, I find, because, you know, it's just good stewardship of material. I hate throwing things in the garbage that could be useful, but there's a limit. It's a balance. Like everything in life, it's a balance. I love this old saw, but I will tell you, if you're contemplating getting one of these, I'd encourage you to do it, but you need to really watch this thing. This is not a tool to trifle with. You see me trying to give it a good safety margin here to not get my hands in this area on this saw. And another tip is to never look away from your hands. Always have your hands in your field of view. When you get hurt, it's when you go to pull that lever and something catches your attention and you can't see my face, so you look away and you pull that lever. That's when you get hurt. You always want to keep your hands in your field of view. So you see me, like if I had to push this piece in here, that's barely far enough away from that blade for me to chance doing that. Often I'll take a stick and push them like that. You can't very often put those things back on once they're gone. Now some of these, like this one, got a little bit of an imperfection on the end. This will get culled in this build, and that's long enough for a bottom bar. Okay, for my next trick, we're gonna take these little top bar blanks and I'm gonna run a kerf just for the foundation. Now, I don't think it really matters if I run the dado or the kerf first, but the fact that I've got the rip blade in here, I'll run the kerf on all these. So I can use this one as an example. I need to take my, shut the master off. My riving knife is a little higher than my blade. So I'll take it out. And it's still safe because I'm not doing a through cut. So there's far less likelihood of having trouble because there's no riving knife. So I will run that there. Have to measure this depth. That is, wow, that is 5/16. Just under 5/16 deep. I'll set that back on there. Run my fence over. That should be what I need. And because this is not a through cut, I'm going to run my feather board right beside the blade just to get a real nice, consistent alignment there. Yeah, alignment's not that critical. If that groove is a little bit off, it's not a big deal. So I'll get these, turn my master back on. That is centered well enough, and it should be slightly shallow. Yeah, just a hair shallow, as I planned. Run that again. That is perfect. I'll just run these like this. I have in the past made a little track of, you know, I just had some cardboard boxes and stuff to lead off the outfeed and put a garbage can off the end, and these just all go in the garbage can, which is very effective. I actually should do that, but, you know, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to just deck them up here. Seems overkill, doesn't it? A 3 horsepower table saw to make a little kerf like that. It is. For my next trick, I need to take each one of these and make 4 little dados near the ends. This is kind of what I'm going for, but this one, there's kind of 2 ways to do this. This is made so that it's a rabbet, really, right off the end. I find it easier actually because this is 1 inch long. My dado blade isn't 1 inch wide, so I need to take 2 passes for each one. I find if I just fit the end bar like this, right, make a dado it's about 3/8. It's just a tiny bit bigger than 3/8. Then it's actually easier to assemble because it's captive. It just slides in there. You don't have to hold it together. And it's easier to mill, and I don't think it is a negative to the finished product. And again, I'm going to use the rip fence in conjunction with the miter gauge, which is not advisable if you're doing a through cut. Again, I'm not doing a through cut, so therefore it is allowable. You always want to be careful. Nice Incra miter gauge. This goes away. Okay, so this is what I'm making here. So I'm gonna do those little rabbits there, and you know that does go together. She just finds that she'd like it to be a little easier. It seems to be a bit deep. You see how it wobbles in here? So we have to make sure that fits nicely. Oh man, I got that first try. That's it doesn't move in there, but it stays in there. It goes in easily. Holy smokes. That never happens first shot. Okay. So we're away to the races. What I can do is I can deck some up here. The reason I want to do that, not only for speed of production, but when the dado blade exits the bottom, it tears that out a little bit. Not a huge deal, but it does. So if I back that up with the next piece, see how that one tore out just a little? Well, none of the rest did. And that's why I want to deck them up. Plus it goes faster. I need to make sure I don't put too many because I have to hold them down with my fingers. Okay, one thing I didn't really check, and it's not that critical, but I want that to be an inch from the end, which is perfect. Okay, so there's six top bars. They're finished. I think I want to do 5. 6 was a little hard to get my fingers on. I see people. I'm going to do this to demonstrate. I don't really think it's a good idea. I see people do that. You know, moving backwards from the blade, I don't think that's a good idea at all. That blade can catch your workpiece. Like if you were to do that and then somehow move the workpiece away a little bit, or one of these pieces kind of moved away, it's going to catch that blade and it'll cause an awful crash. So, that one. All good. Okay, for my next trick, I'm making mini bottom bars. Now this isn't a finished one, but it's finished on one end. So this is the bottom of this little assembly, and that goes in there right like that. Now that's a factory end. What I did was I took a factory bottom bar and I just I cut it to length, and now I can mill one end of it. I don't have to mill this end, and I don't have to run the groove. Again, this costs me more, but it saves me work, so it's a trade-off. It's actually not very tight. I'll probably mill mine to be a little tighter than that. And because I'm doing a rabbet at the end of this, as you've seen me do many times before, I've got my auxiliary fence here. It's just a cover. And it fits. There's nothing holds it down but friction. It just fits that tightly. And I will run that run the dado blade right up against the fence here. This dado is going to have to be, or this rabbet is going to have to be a little bit deeper than the dado I was running. So I don't have to reset that yet. I will have to bring it up a tiny bit. But I'll run that piece through just as a way to start that process of dialing that in. So I've got, it doesn't have to be quite that wide. So that's a good width. It's just a tiny bit more than that. So that's just perfect. And now I need to get the depth of the dado just right. You got to remember, I'm taking the same amount off each side, so the amount I raise the blade is multiplied by 2 when you consider the overall width of that. Go up slow so we don't make it too deep. Okay, we got a little bit farther to go. Boy, that's perfect. Yeah, that couldn't be any more perfect. It doesn't quite fit. There's a little shoulder there because I moved the fence a little bit. That one will be fine though. Okay, let's do that. I don't have to turn it around. This one, I think it jumped up. It's too wide. I'll bring that up just a little, just so my wife doesn't have to struggle getting those joints to fit. Yeah, that's nice. Okay. It's Thursday, March 16th, 2023. You can hear my voice is tired. I'm very tired. It's been a whirlwind few days. I don't think I've updated since Monday. I think I was making mini top and bottom bars Monday. So I showed you that. And Tuesday was a big day and a long day. Went to Winnipeg again, took honey to the packer. I did one delivery, so that kind of paid my gas round trip, but I spent a lot more money than that. I went to Costco, and you can't get out of there for less than a few $100. Where else did I go? I went to Bee Supply, and that cost me a couple $1,000. So it's nice that they have what I need, and they're really nice to deal with. And I also went to Lee Valley, and people, I got a comment about Lee Valley people. You say Lee Valley people, oh, I can't afford to go to Lee Valley. It's not that simple. It's not that simple. Lee Valley products are actually properly priced, and the customer service there is second to none. Absolutely second to none. So anyway, what you get at Lee Valley is you get products that work. Products at Lee Valley work. If Lee Valley sells it, it works. And I don't know why my camera is doing that right now, but it's doing that. And if you see it on the shelf, you see it in the online or in the catalog at Lee Valley, they sell it because it works. And if you have a bad experience with it, no questions asked. Bring her back. And products are kind of priced reasonably there for what you get. Their first priority for sourcing products is Canada, of course, a Canadian company. Failing that, USA, and failing all else, overseas. So having said that, about two things at Lee Valley. You can see this throat plate on my table saw is getting pretty beat up. I've had this table saw for, I don't know when I bought it, 2014. So 9 years now. And this has gotten smashed up. Yeah, I hit a nail or something and it gets all bashed up. And I actually cracked the surface of it. So this is flaking off here now, which is really bad. It'll catch the work pieces. So that's probably going to be going in the garbage. I might actually take this mechanism off and put it on my homemade one. That would be neat, because it's got a nice locking mechanism. When you put it in, it locks right in. So I bought a new one of those. I haven't put it in yet, but I've replaced that. And those are enough. That's SawStop. That's I think it's made in Taiwan. SawStop's made in Taiwan, but they're an American company, and they're very high quality as well. The other thing I got was, you have to look way up. This guy, right here. It's a Raycon air filtration unit. I believe also made in China. It's a good name though. They make good products, and that's what Lee Valley carries for that. So what that is on this end that you can't see going in this way is two filters. There's a 5 micron filter, and then inside there's a big bag filter that's a 1 micron filter, and then it blows out this. Oh, here we go. This hole right here. It blows out, and it actually kind of blows at an angle out this way, and filters the air, because I've been having a lot of trouble with air quality in here this year. And because it's up in the ceiling, then it comes with a little remote control, and so I can turn it on. It gives a infrared, so you have to kind of point at it. It has 3 speeds. That's low speed. Middle speed, and makes the saws hanging on the wall chatter. And that's high speed. That's 1100 CFM, so it'll filter 1100 cubic feet of air a minute. This building is about I think it should be about 9,000 cubic feet of air. And then there's actually a timer, so I can set it to run a certain amount of time. It's kind of weird too. The manual says, well, don't let it run while you're not here. Well, why is there a timer? Like, what's a timer for? If I'm not supposed to let it run while I'm here. If I'm here, I'm going to shut it off. But that's what guys do. They'll actually take their air blower, turn this sucker on high, take the air blower and blow everything down in the shop, and then leave that thing running for a few hours. You can run it for like 1, 2, or 4 hours, something like that. And they say it works really well. So that's a really spendy unit, but so are lungs. So I thought, well, let's just do that. The shop's making money anyway, so we'll throw some more improvements into the shop. Yeah, I'm really tired. I'm gearing up to make cover cleats today, and again, boring stuff is just going to be cross-cutting lumber and ripping lumber. I've got to make, I got to make 800 cover cleats. So that'll take me the day. And I'll be really sore because it's kind of standing on place. I don't care for that. So I was still on Tuesday, update what I was doing Tuesday. So I went over to Bee Supply, and the Bee Supply that I went to is out of town. It's out kind of east of the city. It was a really windy day. It wasn't bad in the city because lots of protection from the wind, but outside the city, and it was really windy. The highways were very good. They were dry or a little bit of melted snow on them. But every so often you'd come to a place where the snow started to melt and stick and freeze and then build up on the highway. And the biggest problem was it could surprise you. You'd be driving along merrily, having a great day, and then, oh no, you're in the middle of a severe winter driving suddenly. So I'd be really careful of that. And I had my truck loaded right to the top. That truck weighed probably near 10,000 pounds in all. And I left Bee Supply, headed out on the little highway, the little 2-lane highway. And I have to check my dash cam to see how fast I was going, but I wasn't really going very fast. And it was kind of a perfect storm. And you see where this is going. Kind of a perfect storm. I came upon one of these patches, and there was a snowbank on the leeward side. So what happens if there's a snowbank on the windward side, then the snow then starts to collect and make a big snowdrift there. I wasn't really watching for this one on the leeward side, but it was also doing the same thing. It was causing the snow to stop there, and it was building up on the highway. I couldn't see that. With just white snow, it's hard to see different undulations in it. There's no contrast. So I kind of got into this as I was meeting another vehicle, and because the road was covered in snow, neither one of us could see the center line. And I'm pretty sure, see, he was on the windward side, so the wind was acting against him, pushing him my way. And I think he was a little close to the center line, or could have been on it. And so I gave him naturally the clearance that he needed. There was about that big a drop off the pavement, and there's a shoulder there, but just a little bit. And when my wheel kind of just went off of that pavement, that big truck just started going angleways toward the ditch, and I couldn't steer it because of the snow. It was warm, and as soon as you touch it, it turns into ice, super slippery. And yeah, I ended up in the ditch. I didn't end up like way in the ditch, but I was kind of on the curve of the shoulder, and with all the snow, I couldn't move. I was stuck. So, well, I took a picture. I took one picture. That's all I did because I was rather busy. So I got back to the Bee Supply, and he had a tractor that I took, and he was very nice to lend it to me. I started clearing the highway by the truck, and I was going to clear out around the truck and everything, but it became clear to me really fast that the only thing I was going to accomplish was I was going to get this tractor stuck too, and I didn't want to do that. But the Lord sent me a Savior. Well, he sent me a Savior 2,000 years ago, but he sent me one on Tuesday as well. As I was clearing the snow, this tow truck pulled up beside me and looked at me, and I said, "Can you pull that thing out?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, Bob's your uncle. Turn around and do it." And so I parked the tractor, and he hooked up the cable, and within about 10, 15 minutes, I was sitting on the road. So I decided to reward him for his, you know what? I'm no fool. These guys do that. That's how they make their living. They head out on a day like that, and they just drive around and find guys like me and make money. But that's how they make their living, right? Can't begrudge the guy. He's smart. And I wouldn't want to do that job because your busiest day is always in a snowstorm. And it's really crappy conditions to work in. So I went around to the passenger side of my truck, opened the door, and I reached in. And I bought grabbed a half kg of honey, which is, you know, almost a pound to the pound people. And so I grabbed that and I walked around the other side. I got to the back of the truck on my way back, and I thought, nah. So I opened the door on the other side, put the half kg back, reached in the other box, and pulled out a kg, which is 2.2 pounds, and gave it to the driver. He was so happy. I said, "This is what happens when you rescue a beekeeper." Handed him the honey, and he was so happy. He's a big honey fan. He loves honey. But I still paid full price. I wasn't meaning to bribe him. I was just meaning to thank him. So that was kind of funny. Really nice young man. If you're in the area, St. Anne's Towing is where he was from. So I said, make sure I'm mobile. He said, oh yeah. He said, I don't leave till you leave. And so we got going. And then the rest. So my angst at that point was I needed to get back into the city because it was our bee club meeting that night, and I'm the president, and I kind of got to be there. And the guy at the bee supply, he's a member, and he's the technology guy. So he gave me. I went back there, and I got all the technology stuff because he wasn't going to make it. And then I went in, and we fumbled through the technology because, you know, we didn't have our tech guy, and so we managed and did our presentation and everything. So it was a really stressful evening, really stressful evening. There was a lot going on. Thank you to all the people who helped out that evening, and all the people for their understanding and patience with us, because things definitely didn't go that smoothly. And of course, you know, we get visiting after the meeting, and I got home really late. And I tried to get a sleep in on Wednesday after those meetings, but I didn't sleep in that late. So it was a tiring day again, and I'm still pretty tired. And I'm only about a cup and a half of coffee in, so that's part of my problem. So that was my Tuesday. Wednesday, then my job was unload the truck. There was a lot of freight in that truck. It took me a long time to unload it, because one of the things, and when I went to Costco, the big reason I went to Costco is about 1,000 pounds of sugar there. So it was all up at the front of the bed. Most of it was on pallets though, so I just kind of hooked it and slid it to the back and picked it up with the tractor. But there was probably 300 pounds of pollen patties in there, and there was bee equipment, and there was groceries from Costco, and I told the one guy, he would say, "Wow, you sure, you know, your truck sure is full." And I said, "You know, it is." I said, "I almost didn't get everything in, but I got that last bag of rice in, but I had to take it out of the bag to get it in. It was so full." So that was my job Wednesday, to unload the truck and then come in a wood shop and do some more work. However, you've heard me talk about rural life and tending to your own utilities and everything. My sewage ejector froze up, so couldn't take a poop in the house or nothing. Couldn't wash dishes. Couldn't put any water down the drains because the tank fills up, and then, you know, it's not going to pump out. So I had to go out and service that. And that took most of my morning to get that thawed out and get it free running again. It's working well now. So we were both very relieved that we could use the toilets again. Sorry for the off-color conversation, but that's reality in the country. So I had to do that, and then I unloaded the truck, and I was wore out. And I did come back in the shop and do some work. My wife came and built some more frames. You can kind of just see some of them right here. And that kind of leads me to today. And in the pieces in between there, there's all kinds of business to take care of on the computer, in the house, the desk, and all kinds of stuff. Oh, and I hung this thing, this filter yesterday. And then that leads to today. Did some more business in the house, and had a cup of coffee and came outside to do some building. And the next item on the docket, like I say, is those cleats. So I need to build 800 cleats for covers. I need to build 800 for 10 frame, and I need to build 120 for 6 frame covers. That's for myself. So yeah, I got to get off here and get to that. And I'll show you a little bit of it if I can. It's not much to see, it's just cutting lumber all day long. We'll get into some assembly sometime soon, and then that might be a little more interesting. So until then, thanks for watching. Take care and have fun. I need 400 end cleats, and that's enough for 200. So I need to do that much again just to get enough material for the end cleats, and then I got to cut the top cleats. So I'm changing my saw back over to a rip blade from the dado blade, and I'm going to use my new insert. These inserts are very expensive, but they have some really nice features to them. They're made of a phenolic, it's called a phenolic resin. I don't know exactly what that is. I think it maybe is it includes a wood product. It's got a lot of, detailing to it in order to make it work just right. And it's also got a nice locking mechanism here, and that hook there locks under these tabs. Also, these adjustable little screws here, they're all adjustable from the top. It's a set screw, goes under these screws here. So there, I can screw that down in order to grab the side of this screw nicely. So I can put that in there, and then that doesn't wobble up and down. And then I can adjust this down. I can tell this is proud, and this locks down, so this is not going anywhere either. It's nice and tight in there. A little bit of wobble there, not too bad. What I want to show you is I'm gonna cut this insert. Now this is a zero clearance insert, meaning my blade makes the slot. So what that means is then the slot is going to be very, very close to the blade. You may have seen me at times ripping or resawing pieces, and I'm making these very small offcuts, and those go down the hole and they plug my dust collector. They can cause havoc inside the saw. A zero clearance insert that's cut just barely wide enough for the blade minimizes that. I would say it eliminates it, but it minimizes it dramatically, reduces it dramatically. So I know my blade is right in line with this slot. I'm going to bring my fence over kind of there, and so that's holding this down firmly. I'm going to start the saw and bring the blade up through here to make the first cut in there. And Lord help me, I've got it right. gripping these, so I want about that high. I want 2 1/4 wide. So I need 400 of these end cleats, and I'm cutting the end cleats first. The end cleats are 2 1/4 wide, and I should be able to get 3 almost exact out of this. And so therefore, something like this, of course, I'm going to run that through this way so that this is my offcut. But my top cleats are 2 inch, so they're not quite as wide. And the reason I cut these first is so that if there are any, the end cleat is a little more of a structural piece. It's got that flange at the end that comes down. So that has to be, stronger. And if there's any big knots or imperfections or anything like that, I'd rather put those on the top cleat, because the top cleat is glued and screwed the whole way down. It's not really structural in and of itself. It's really there to use up space, give you something to lock into with the pallet system, and give you some glue service over top of the end cleat. So if there are any of these that end up run across some lumber that has a great huge knot somewhere, I'll either cull it completely or I'll set it aside and make a top cleat out of it. And then I'll have to make another end cleat for that. The other reason I do the top cleats last or second is that, of course, they're not going to use up as much space, and I'm going to have an offcut here that perhaps I can use. So I'm looking forward to possibly getting another part out of that. If you're curious about that Raycon thing, that air filter, that's what it is right there. So that's nice, not much left. So there are my, 400 end cleats for this project, and now I have to make 400 top cleats. I'm making actually a few more. I discovered that I promised another person, I think I have to make five more 10 frame covers. So that means 10 end cleats and 10 top cleats. But now I'm back outside, get another dozen 16-foot boards and cut them up again to make the, I've got a few top cleats here, they're 2 inches, so I'm just going to be making 400 of those now. Well, it's Friday, don't you know? March the 17th. Happy St. Patrick's Day to you all. On St. Patrick's Day, we're all a little Irish. Except the Scottish. We're still Scottish. So this is Friday. It's a very windy and quite cold day outside. I say quite cold because it's not 30 below or anything, but it feels really, really cold. This time of year, the relative humidity goes up, so we don't get that dry cold like we have all winter. It gets to be a more of a humid or damp, not damp so much as humid cold, and that wind chills you to the bone, burn your skin right off, will freeze your skin right off. However, I'm hiding inside today. I've been hiding inside for a long time. I have been outside a lot. I've just not been making any videos outside because when it's time to go outside, I go out, do what I need to do, get back inside because it's cold out there. So I'm just doing a little bit of work in the shop today. I've been doing business in the house all morning and had my coffee and came out to the shop and did a little more business here in the shop. So I actually have a little bit more business to do. And so what I'm saying is that's not interesting stuff, and not stuff that's really appropriate for a YouTube channel, to be honest. And then we're going to meet some family for dinner out tonight. And this is, I can't say the, but one of, because we've actually had one before, and we'll actually probably have one again. Mortgage-free celebration dinner. Instead of having a big gathering with a whole whack of people and a ton of work, we just go out to dinner with, you know, close friends and family, and just have a nice little celebration dinner. I like it that way because you get to spend time with individual people. If you have 10 or 20 people or more in a gathering, you don't get to see everybody. Everybody's there, and you say, well, yeah, I saw you there, but you don't really get to interact that much. So that's what we're doing. So I can't get involved in too much because we have to leave here this afternoon. And I'm hoping the roads don't get bad again. The roads were bad on Tuesday, as you heard, and it's extremely windy again today. The difference is it's not as sunny and it's not as warm. So that whole business of the snow blowing up on the highway and melting and turning into ice shouldn't be an issue today. It'll just be the wind and the cold. So when we're in the restaurant, we won't know it's cold and windy. Just on the way there and on the way back. It's about 15 miles away, so it's not that far. Yeah, so that's all for this week and this video. Thank you for watching this long video. I wanted to throw some woodworking. You've been crying for woodworking stuff, and I appreciate that. But there just wasn't, you know, it was kind of in between a standalone video and a vlog. So I just threw it in the vlog, and I hope it wasn't too long for you. I know it was pretty long. And I'll put this together and get it sent up to the cloud, and you can watch it with your Saturday morning coffee, as I know so many people tell me they do. Yeah, I have my coffee with your video every weekend. So there's the pressure, right? I appreciate you watching. I appreciate everybody watching. And that's all I have to say. I'm not going to ramble anymore, and I'll leave you with that, and I'll bid you a really great weekend. And as usual, take care and have fun.